Hello. We have in Japan been seeing images of tourists kind of gone wild since about the cherry blossoms. This is going on for quite a long time, going all the way back to when Logan Paul and other YouTubers came here and were disrespecting. I guess that would be one way to look at it. Japanese taking advantage of the hospitality. People are very kind and easygoing here in Japan, and it's very easy to take advantage of that. And we're seeing that more and more now on Japanese media. This is leading to some really big problems, and it's a troubling direction for me to see. Now, during the cherry blossoms, we saw this here. I don't know if some of you have seen this on Instagram. Tourists were shaking the cherry blossom trees. Again, these trees are very important because for a lot of people who live here in Japan, we see these trees every day, every year for our lives, and we walk past it. They're very special. And when tourists come here and don't have that same connection with the nature that we do here, this is just appalling. When I first see it, I've seen this already like many times, it brings me to tears because I know that that tree deserves better. I think we all deserve better than what we're seeing here. And it's just a heartbreaking thing here. Arthur Vandelay, it's nice to see you here, buddy. So this is the kind of behavior that we have started to see from about the middle of March, since the cherry blossom season. And I want to say thank you to everybody on Instagram because they keep sharing these images with me. There's not a lot I could do with it, but this one in particular has really hit me hard. We all know that the geisha in Kyoto and Gion have been suffering through tourists just abuse. I don't know if it's an abuse. It's like worse than paparazzi. At least paparazzi have paparazzi standards. You can understand that. But tourists are unpredictable in the sense like they'll do anything to get the shot, and just the I don't know who this tourist is. Obviously her behavior is over the top. It's awful. I see Irvin is here. Nice to see you, buddy. I saw this. I was shocked. My mouth it was down the ground, and I traced this back to the Instagrammer here, and I left him a message to try to talk to him. We have a mutual friend in common who comes here to Japan quite a lot. I was just appalled at this behavior. Like, how far do you have to go? Maybe it's the misunderstanding. Maybe Japan is not doing a good enough job explaining that this is their livelihood. They're going to work. This isn't anything out of the ordinary for this neighborhood. And when you see it and you're drawn to it like a fly to a light, it should be more like an electric light. Put these people out of their misery. I feel bad even saying that in a way. But if you look at this lady's eyes, it is like, here, I'm just gonna bring it up a little bit bigger here. I made this 16:9 so you guys can take a look at it. It's just like she's in the zone. She's got to get the shot. Like, she's a journalist. She's not a journalist. She's just a tourist. This poor geisha is weaving left and right, trying to get out of the way. She's being very respectful. She can't open up her mouth. She knows that if she says something, it only does damage. When you never show anger here in Japan. When you do something like this, it looks very bad and it brings your reputation down more. I think she's doing the best thing she can do. Just try to weave out of the way and be respectful. Maybe she's showing some discomfort in her face. We can't see that. But while this video, and I go over to this Instagram page and go check it out, Zozala Jail, actually a very interesting creator who's here in Japan. I apparently got this clip. I haven't been able to confirm that, but like, you could hear in the background other tourists telling this lady, you can't do that. You don't do this. This is wrong. And I think it's when the other tourists start to police other tourists, this is when things maybe start to improve. This behavior, I don't care what any country is, it's not just illegal, right? Because you're not allowed to take pictures on some of these streets. It's wrong, and you can't post this stuff on social media either without the permission. There's a portraits right here in Japan. It's kind of a misunderstood thing. I mean, I can go into this a little bit more in another live stream, but when you see this kind of a behavior, it just breaks your heart as somebody who lives here in Japan. And it's going to be really hard for municipalities, for the city of Kyoto. I mean, obviously they've done some stuff, but it's not working. So what more can they do without damaging their own reputation? Look, I right now I'm seeing here on Japanese media more and more TV news showing the bad behavior. It's not bad; it's more like rude behavior of tourists that are coming here to Japan, and that really breaks my heart because often, I've been here for 26 years. I get tossed into the tourist group by people who don't know me because yeah, I'm a foreigner, and I obviously, and there's a lot of Japanese tourists. Of course, they go to different areas; they're tourists as well. But people just assume that foreigners don't know anything, and you can see here at a very popular site I was at on this channel just last week some of the bad behavior crossing the street illegally. They have yellow, orange cones that are very easy to see. They have signs telling you not to do this. Despite all of this, the tourists are going ahead to try to get the shot, crossing the street, going into dangerous places, doing incredible. And there's a TV news camera there with a guy with a microphone. You would think that maybe you want to use better judgment, but they're not doing that. Instead, they're just being not just disrespectful, they're being rude and they're being dangerous to themselves. What happens if they fall? What happens if they get injured? What happens if a car strikes them? In Japan, I think when we do stupid behavior like this, we're also thinking about the other person. What about that other person? What if the person in the car who hits you gets killed? And what about their family? So there's a lot of things that we think about here in Japan. I'm sure in other countries as well. But when I see this type of behavior on the screen that the news is reporting, this is just one of every single major news network is posting this kind of material inside of Japan, and you don't know about it because you don't see it. And I see it here on a daily basis if I just turn on the media, turn on the news here. I'm going to take some of your questions as well because I think this is a live stream. This is a really good topic to have a discussion. But if you're watching this in the playback, please, by all means, leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts on all of this. It's a heartbreaking topic. It's one that I hope I don't have to do very often, but it's one that I think I'm going to leave this on the side here. And while I take some of your questions and talk about this, here, sorry, John, I normally love watching all your streams, but I can't stay here for this one. Oh, okay, I thought it was like something that I was covering. And the next sentence here from Michelle, I hate people. Well, don't hate people. The flip side on this is a lot of the tourists don't have those crazy eyes. They just don't know. I'm not giving them a pass. I think this isn't behavior that is acceptable in any country. But I think that there's some people in particular from the West who think that this being Asia, it's okay to do this kind of stuff. Let me tell you something, stop you right there. Japan has more rules than maybe any other country in the world. There's so many rules for cultural situations. People have to hire consultants to explain to them how to navigate certain cultural rules. There's so many of them and it's deep. I've been here 26 years and I'm not even scratching the surface. I remember we went to somebody close had passed away and we didn't really know what to do because Japan has so many rules in that respect. We had to have a consultant come and tell us what the procedures are for that situation. And it was really deep. And it was one of the first times in Japan where I learned there are so many little rules that I will never really know. And that's not unusual because Japanese don't know them either. And there's a story that came in, and I'm looking at this news as well and trying to see some of your comments. There's a story that's gone viral here inside of Japan on Twitter in particular, where an English guide was out. I think some of you might have seen this. I'm not going to show the clip because I think we don't know what the context is for real. But there's Jeffrey Hall, who is on Twitter, who posts a lot of news stuff, has been posting some interesting information on this, and I'll follow the story as well because he's an English guide with people from England coming and visiting Kyoto, and they were at night at a temple, and they were shaking the bell way too loud, like going crazy with it, and I don't know what had transpired because this Japanese viewer did not film that part. So we don't know actually what happened. Maybe they were very apologetic. Ramses writes in here, I think you could use a coffee. I think I probably could too. I probably need something stronger. Thanks, Cash. Thanks, Ramsey. Yeah, so, and I see Irvin, you're here in Japan. Let me get back to the topic here. I was up kind of late. it's going to be something that Japan really, really grapples with. But this situation with the English guide, the Japanese who filmed him trying to shame him, we don't know what the context was. It wasn't filmed. They posted this on social media. And then Japanese started to, uh, I don't know, put in bad reviews onto his service because he's a guide, a registered guide. He's been here for 8 years. He's a Japanese guide. Now, that English guide approached the situation extremely poorly, right? When I watched the clip, he was a little standoffish. He was saying, I've lived in Japan for 8 years, speaking in Japanese and in English. I think maybe it was a little bit insulting, but we don't know the context of it all. And that Japanese person who posted it on social media without blurring his face also is breaking the portrait rules. And there was the post on Jeffrey Hall's Instagram was that there could be legal implications with posting somebody's picture like this. You can't just start filming people like you would in the United States. And this is something that I'm going to probably do another episode on. If you see something wrong, you can film them, but you really shouldn't be posting them on social media. Now, that lady, I don't know where she's from and whatnot, but she's all over social media already, and I think what she's doing is despicable. I would love to hear her try to defend it, but you can't put a photo, like a camera, in somebody's face, and if they say no to that, then you can't post that on the internet. It's just not in Japan. There's portrait right rules. It's very I don't know. You have to read between the lines here, and if you do go to court and get sued for it, I mean, you probably should just take it down first of all to try to avoid that, because there are legal costs with that respect. But it's something I think that if you do come to Japan from the West, you just because somebody's outside does not give you the right to take their picture and then publish it. You can probably take their picture, but don't publish it, right? And if they feel uncomfortable, everybody has a right to privacy here in Japan. Now, there are live cameras all over the country on Shibuya Crossing. So, I mean, from my understanding of this law, it's only if you focus in on that person and it's like a portrait type of thing that you're doing. If you get them in the background and stuff, and that's why we can do like these live streams, and why the TV news media can also do live broadcasting on the street without blurring faces, is because they're not zooming in on anybody and putting them on the spot and breaking their rights. But this lady who put the English guide on the spot broke those rules, and she can get in some big trouble. And there's other things, including being sued for damaging this guy's business, because we don't know the context in which this is done. And but this is the issue here, is all a fundamental problem, because we're seeing in Japan all of these. I guess we can turn this off here. We're seeing all of these stories coming up on the news media, and we're trying to find ways to deal with it. And it's not easy, as you're seeing here. Like, they're on the street, they're in dangerous situations, and they interviewed the locals in this media report. You can see there's clearly a sign right there. They're interviewing the locals in this area, and the tourists are coming to this quiet place that I went to at 6 in the morning. That's not the problem all the time, but there were some tourists that are extremely rude, super rude, I can say. And those are that 1% that just really ruins it for everybody. Japan is still, I believe, it is a new destination. It's a place that I think, for many of you, you might not know. I came here in 1998. There were like no tourists here. There were Japanese tourists when you went to Kyoto, and it was very crowded back then. But there weren't a lot of foreign tourists. Since 2015, about 2014, 2015, we've seen an explosion of tourists. And over the last 4 years, during that time where we couldn't all travel, the tourist numbers were like zero. So it was like we were back to 1998 in a way. But Japan is sort of grappling with this word over tourism. And I'm going to talk about this even more. Over tourism has a negative feeling to it. It's maybe not a great word to represent Japanese feeling of this omotenashi, the spirit of welcoming and being a good host and wanting to show you a really good time. That's what Japanese really feel in their core. Like 99.9%. There's always going to be a minority of people who don't want you here. It's like in every country, isn't it? Where they don't want any tourists at all. But Japan really needs tourists to come here, and I think that the vast majority of people understand that, because they themselves are tourists too. They understand when they travel outside of Japan. So this word over tourism, I think, is misrepresented a little bit. It's more like Japan trying to find ways to balance everyday life of locals with the tourists. And over tourism is also bad for the tourists because if you all go to one spot, it creates this inauthentic and really crowded situation that's just not fun. And that's why I don't like Kyoto that much. It's just not fun. And I'm talking about central Kyoto, the main sites that everybody likes to go to. It's not fun when you're shoulder to shoulder with a lot of people. You kind of want to go and feel Japan. Here's some locals being interviewed and saying, look, somebody's going to get hit by a car. We don't know when, we don't know how, but when that happens, it's going to be a really awful thing. But somebody's going to get hit by a car. This is the same as when I showed you Kawaguchiko, and I did that a couple of times. I showed you they put up a black tarp, and this is how unprepared that Japan is for foreign tourists and this kind of over tourism problem. The tarp is made with a material that is translucent or see-through. It's not a really thick wall. I don't think it's even a wall. It's basically just a canvas, right? Already there tourists have punched holes through the, of course they have, through the hole, through the wall, and it's, the city's like, how could this happen? Well, I bet you every single one of you who's watching could have predicted that that was going to happen, and I kind of figured that someone's going to burn a hole with a cigarette or something through this wall that's easily broken through. The wall is supposed to be temporary. The site, I believe, is going to be gone in a couple of years, if not in a couple of months. I don't know. I think people just tend to move on to the next trend. But I was heartbroken to see that the efforts, I think they paid like $20,000 for this wall, and it's already been like a waste of time. I mean, look at the images here from Japanese media. This is what we're getting here in Japan, and it's heartbreaking to see this. I want to see a couple of questions here. Francis writes in here, I saw that clip. I think the English guy was quite rude as well. Yeah, I got that feeling too. He handled it poorly. He kept asking the Japanese lady to speak in English, but in the end, he made some rude comments in Japanese as he was walking away. He absolutely did. I think, again, he handled it wrong, but that doesn't give the lady the right to publicly shame him and put this up on social media without at least, blurring his face and giving him a chance to respond or showing what he actually did. I really appreciate that comment. I'm glad that you saw that clip. It's making its way not so much around the foreign social media, but Twitter, which is big in Japan, or X. It's huge here, and it's heartbreaking to see this. Again, if you haven't followed, let me see if I can get him up here. I just got a message here from Zozala Jail, who posted that YouTube, the Instagram thing. I messaged him a couple of, hold on, I'll put the video up here. If I can get it up here. I don't think I don't think I can even change it again. Where did it go? I can't get that scene up here. Well, he wrote in here, hey, John, I'm very well and enjoying Japan as usual. Thanks for asking. Yeah, I did take that video. It didn't do well here, but it reached 29 million on TikTok. So Zoza Lajail wrote to me, and he's a really cool creator. He's from Qatar, and he's the one who took that video on 29 million views on TikTok. So go check him out on TikTok. So when you see this video on Instagram or on TikTok, he's the one who took it. And yeah, I'm glad that I got it. I'm glad that he responded to that. They should move Mount Fuji. Writes in meow 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 jokingly. That's the funny thing. I think you should move your feet, tourists, because you don't really have to go that far in order to get a really good view of Mount Fuji. You just have to go anywhere. It's a volcano. It's almost a perfect cone, except for one section that exploded back in the 18th century, which was the last time that Mount Fuji erupted, leaving a little hump on there. You can see that. You can see that from Mishima, from that side of Mishima being near Odawara. So you can see it from this side, Kanagawa, when you're coming from Tokyo to Mount Fuji. And then when you get to about Shin Fuji, it looks quite good again. But if you go on the backside of Mount Fuji, it's a perfect cylindrical, volcano-looking thing that you can see from anywhere. Why do you need to have it with Mount Fuji with Lawson's or a convenience store? I guess it just people want to feel like they're in a famous place. They just want to feel what they want to feel, what's going on around them, and to show that picture, put it on social media, and share that with everybody. Like, hey, look at me, I'm here as well. I watched a YouTuber yesterday who uploaded a video about, I think it was divorce or something. I don't know. But people on Instagram and on TikTok, typically they're showing part of their life that's not reality. And I think we all know this, but sometimes we need to hear this. What you're seeing on social media isn't always really the reality. It's kind of what people want to show you. The reality is that a lot of people are hurting. Probably people that overshare on Instagram are hurting inside and probably don't have really great lives. I'm not posting pictures of my family or my, lovely wife and son every single day. I'm not taking them to experiences to film them to put them on YouTube. I do sometimes because I'm still a YouTuber at the end of the day, but I don't do that because I'm quite happy and I want those experiences mostly to be for myself. And I share a little bit with you guys. And when you do find me and you see our family, we're really happy to meet you. That's normal, everyday people life stuff, common sense. And I think we should all realize that what we see on social media is crap. WRX Turbo is in the house. Welcome. So this is a new format. I'll be, whenever it's raining like it is today, I might go live like this and talk about issues in particular that are really useful to you, that in this format I can really highlight, and I'll try to do them live because, again, like hearing from you guys live is really good. I'm going to take it away there. So what do you guys think? Leave me more comments down in the chat about this fake room behind me, this green screen. Can I even show? Hold on a second. Maybe I can take away this image here. You can see it's just a green screen. I'd have to take away. All right, I have to take me away. So basically, I think you get the idea. It's behind me. It's a keyframe. But yeah, I want to leave you with the video from before here. This is a despicable scene, and if you do see people doing this, I think you don't have to be told. Please let them know. Let them know that what they're doing is wrong. Share videos like this. I love the fact that he shared this too, because it lets us know that these kinds of people are here. And it shows us that if you do this kind of behavior, then you're going to have to, I guess, pay a price socially. I don't know. But every time I see this image, what gives her the right to do this to somebody, this poor lady who's just going to work? What gives her the right to take this picture like this? Where's she going to put it? And it's not even a good picture. I can't imagine with a smartphone, this is going to be something that's worthy of putting on your wall. I don't know. If you find her social media account and she did post it there, please share it with me. I'd like to see what her final result was for all this hard work to be very disruptive member of society here in Japan. I don't know. I would not do that myself. Yeah, we're seeing more and more of this in Japan. I think Japan's going to get used to it, but we cannot excuse the tourist behaviors, and the Japanese have to find ways to solve some of these issues. And it's going to be some growing pains. I think 2024 and 2025 is going to be a little bit rough, but the more images we see inside of Japan of this happening, the more I think we all kind of worry. The more we're going to have people like that lady who saw something happening with the English guide, some disrespect at a Japanese temple or shrine. We don't know what exactly he did. And they kind of went off of the deep end. I think both were wrong, but you shouldn't have been posting that on social media. You probably should have told that guy, and you can leave bad comments on his site, whatever, or she should put her face up there and then show it. And she's also accountable for her words. She can't be anonymous, basically. And I think when you do something like that, then maybe you're doing something useful. But come on, I think we're going to see now after, an in real life streamer who went to jail for 3 months for being extremely disruptive. It takes a lot in Japan to get arrested. It takes a lot here to be deported. It takes a lot for the police to take notice and say that you're not good, because Japan wants you to come here. That's why it takes so long. The second is because they're probably building a case against you that's so rock solid that they'll be able to keep you in jail for months. You can ask an in real life streamer all about that experience, but I don't have to say the name. But the end result is that all these little teeny things, all these issues, vandalism at temples and shrines where people are writing their names, blank so and so was here. When you see that, let them know. Be part of the solution, not the problem. That's what I'm trying to be. I'm going to be try to be part of the solution. I'm going to show you this kind of stuff when it happens, so that you can understand that it's wrong. And second, if you do see it, to let them know. You can report it to the authorities. I think it's going to take a lot to get somebody arrested here, but there's not a lot that I can do except for this. And it's up to everybody around us to be the sun that follows us. This is one of the reasons why many people in Japan are quite honest. It's because there's this expression that a friend of mine, Japanese, who told me, he goes, look, the sun is always watching us. Meaning, like, what does that mean? All right, someone's always watching you. And if you you'll feel some shame if you didn't give back if somebody saw you walk past a wallet that somebody just dropped and you didn't give it back, they would feel some shame or some guilt. Just depends on the person. So there's this feeling that everyone's watching everybody and keeping society in check. If I do something wrong, a grandma is going to let me know. An old lady probably saw me, or tell my wife or my family. This is the way Japan has worked in the past from my experience. So it's up to the tourists to police the other tourists sometimes. And you have to let people know that this is wrong. You can't do this. Don't you think that that's rude? You should call them out a little bit. And I think other tourists that do see this action are going to be calling out the same thing. And maybe in the end, if we see enough of these videos about poor behavior in Japan, everyone's going to get the idea before they plan this trip and come here that, look, be respectful. Don't try to disturb everyday life. People here are also residents of Japan trying to live their lives, have a decent, everyday life, and like I am too. And we don't want tourists. We don't want locals disturbing the tourists, and the tourists disturbing locals. We don't want Japan to take attractions away from us. We don't want that to happen. But in Japan, that's typically what would happen. And people would say this is bad PR and all this other stuff. Yeah, it probably is. But this is still Japan, and this is how we react to stuff. If somebody gets hit by a car, we shut it down and we take things away, and then gradually we bring it back, but safer. And just like when the guy flew a drone onto the roof of the prime minister when drones were new. This is a real story. About 10 years ago, somebody had a drone that they flew in central Tokyo, and the drone landed on the roof of the prime minister, and very quickly they banned all drones and slowly let drones be used with regulation. Now you have to register your drone before you can fly it here in Japan. So that's the way Japan will react, very harshly and swiftly when something happens, but until it does, it's sort of a passive aggressive type of thing. I guess this would be the closest thing to a podcast I've ever done. This is a new format. Probably I'll be able to deal with issues on a rainy day. I tend to still like to go outside though. I find that it's good exercise. It's good to, meet with people. And I don't like to be in a studio, and I like to do things live. I don't particularly like to record things and have to edit it, because I think there's an authenticity to this format. If you make a big mistake, everybody knows it. You can't really fake it. You can fake it. I know YouTubers that would feel very uncomfortable in this format. I feel pretty cool with it, and I'm willing to take the consequences for an occasional slip. It happens. All right, everybody. I hope you're doing well. And share me your experiences. If you do come to Japan, we have a Discord server with about 18,000 people on there. We're sharing the photos, the stories. A lot of the stories that I have to cover comes from you, and I'm really happy to pop in there and to comment on some things that you do share sometimes if I can find it, because we get a lot of people in there, and we got a very friendly community as well. So I appreciate it if you guys check out that Discord server. It's free. And yeah, I'll see you in another live stream, probably outside when the sun comes out. Kanai, Leo, and I are planning to go camping on Thursday somewhere in Japan. I'm not going to tell you exactly where, out in the countryside. But yeah, perhaps we might do a live stream and show you a little bit of the other side of Japan, outside of the cities, going out camping. What's that like? What's that experience like? I've never done it with the family before, so this is going to be a pretty cool experience. As long as that typhoon that's on its way from the Philippines and out there in the Pacific doesn't do too much damage and ruin our Friday. Thursday should be pretty good. Should be. All right, everybody. Have a good day. Have a good night. I'll see you in the next live stream. Mata ne.